picture this. Yeah, ain't no way you cannot work me, boy, I live for this. Yeah, sipping essential, that's the essentials, I'm influential. Yeah, straight fundamental, that's fundamental, on instrumentals. Yeah, speed of the tempo, yeah, we got potential. Shoot a movie like I'm Denzel, running my route to the end zone. And they still can define me, man, you know where to find me. I'm tryna get me a Grammy so I can dedicate it to my granny. Look, tell me what's the vibes, what's the mood. Yeah, I just hit on Mikey for the juice. Yeah, ain't no capping, I'ma tell the truth. I've been winning for so long, it's hard to lose. Deal, be my source, Christian like Dior. Yeah, I can't start when I'm far, just get back up. Yeah, I've been quiet all along on my TP toes. Yeah, I can't keep it to myself, I just give and go. Yeah, I just turn my L's into W's. Yeah, I just told my sins, yeah, I'm done with you. Yeah, stay in your lane, don't you pick and choose. I can't waste my time, I gotta.
All right, welcome to the Apollo Crypto Show. I'm your host, Henok. It is good to be with you. Let me introduce you to my friends, starting with Matt Johnson. It's good to be with you.
Great to be here.
Let me give you guys the bio. Let me tell you guys who Matt Johnson is. Husband, father, former athlete.
Oh, that's pushing it.
Is that negligence?
Yeah, high school basketball, I guess, with a little overseas action, but you know.
Overseas action?
No, a little bit.
Where?
Yeah, I played in Shanghai after high school for a little while. Little known fact.
Didn't know that.
Not just all nerd.
I think that counts. That counts.
You heard it from the man.
Hey,
Shanghai.
we got a hoop.
We do got a hoop.
Is that regulation?
Matt Johnson is a Dallas-based local legend. Went to the University of Texas. He's been in software development and tech for 30 years. Former executive VP at Bottle Rocket, founder and CEO of East Edge Studios, founder and CEO of Apollo Crypto. Welcome to the show, sir.
Appreciate you. Thanks, Henok.
All right, next up, Nick. Nick, it is good to be with you, sir. Former Cleveland Indians player. Can we say that?
I think so.
Is that right on point?
Yeah, they're not the Indians anymore, but
Okay.
we're good. Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't play for the Guardians, so.
Okay, all
yeah.
right, that's right.
No,
That's
we're good. You roll with it.
I didn't know if I could say that. Dallas-based local legend with the DBU, University of North Texas. You like that? Legend. Just get that tattooed on everybody. Entrepreneur, you had a 9-figure exit from a company, Fan Cloth. I got to give you recognition and props for that. Entrepreneur, owner, an investor in H Factor, Strident, Carrots Technology, Delicious Keeps, Handsome Devil, Model, what else? None of that. What else are we doing? Center, founder and CEO of Center, and then the man to my right, needs no introduction, former collegiate athlete, professional football player, entrepreneur, investor. It is good to be with you, Zeke. How are we today, sir?
good, man. Thanks for having me.
Happy to be here. Let's do this. Let's do this. We are at Center, okay? The iconic shoe store of Dallas, in Dallas, setting cultural trends. If I do say so myself, it's an honor to be here. Shout out to Center, our sponsor for today. And if we're at Center, we got to talk about shoes. So what do we have on today? Nick, let's start with you. Nick, what do we have on?
I did not elevate the shoe game today. I've got on slippers.
They look great.
They're fear of God. I mean, they're fear of God slippers. It's 100 degrees. I'm all about comfort. And yeah, nothing major. I probably have on the worst shoes here right now.
What do we got, Zeke?
Shoot, man. Throw on the Witherspoons. Something slight today.
You coordinated the socks.
Yeah, you got the center socks.
Center socks.
Very nice.
They look great. I've got my Air Fear of God ones, my favorites. God bless you, Jerry. Thank you, Jerry, for
Black on black.
your contribution to the planet. And then Matt, what do we have on?
I would love to tell you, my wife. All my stuff. I think these are from Stitch Fix, actually. So
Yeah.
Shout out to Stitch Fix.
Your shoes. Hey, the crowd goes to Matt. Can we agree?
Yeah.
Let's go, Matt. Come on, guys. Y'all are doing great.
We play a game here all the time where we say, like, if you were a shoe, like every person is a shoe.
Okay.
Matt doesn't like where this is going. Matt's like, oh.
I'm thinking Skechers.
No, I'm thinking he is what he has on.
Yeah, maybe so. I back in the basketball days, I wore the David Robinsons that had the pumps on the sides, the lime greens, and they were hard to find.
Those
So
are
I'm gonna
coming
go
back
with
out.
David Robinsons.
What size are you?
15.
Oh, so I was gonna say we'd get you, but 15 is gonna be tough.
All right.
Yeah, we may have to get those from David himself.
He was a big fella. He was a big fella.
Probably the final.
Yeah, we only go to a 14 here most of the time.
So can you take care of athletes?
I mean, yeah, as long as they're not like a 15 or bigger. So yeah, then you got to go straight to Nike.
Manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you deal with that? So, someone comes in and says, I'm looking for a specific shoe, you guys can't deliver. What happens in that scenario?
That happens daily. Yeah,
You're just
it's probably any minute that's gonna happen. Someone's
Okay.
gonna walk in, that's gonna happen. So yeah, I mean, I think that's part of what makes the sneaker culture, what it is. It's supply and demand. And I think if everyone knew there was an endless supply, you may or may not want some of the things you have. So it's a calculated little game.
You guys have led in Dallas, certainly, and beyond when it comes to sneaker culture. I mean, this thing has absolutely blown up. Like, what got you into sneakers? Like, how'd you get into this business?
So I just loved sneakers growing up. My parents would bribe me to make good grades. I would get Jordans.
Which ones?
I mean, when I was a kid, the first Jordan that everyone just went crazy for was the 4.
Yeah.
So my parents were just like, hey, you get straight A's. We'll take you to the mall and get a 4, which was cool in 2 ways because you get the shoe, and then also they would do drops on Tuesday, so you got to skip school. So my mom would pick me up, and we'd leave school and go to the mall and get the Jordans. But then you also then kind of had to learn to fight because back in that day, if you had Jordans and sort of where I grew up, someone would inevitably try and take them. So times were a little different back then. Now they do drops, not in the middle of school days. And certainly, back in the day, it was at a mall, always at a mall, or just a boutique. So, but yeah, just love sneakers, grew up loving Jordan. I think any kid who grew up in the 90s, those were the greatest marketing campaigns ever. So Agassi, Bo, Dion. So it's, kind of one part the attitude and the athletes they had, and then those shoes just represent a certain part of our life. He's a little younger than me, so his athletes were a little different, but yeah, I don't know. So, we traveled and had a chance to open a store here in Dallas, and at the time, we wouldn't do anything like this. And, we just celebrated our 15th year anniversary, so opening up, 3 or 4 more locations and get to meet super cool people like this guy. And his story's probably similar with the shoes, the sentimental aspect of it.
How'd you get into shoes, Zeke?
I'll probably say when I first got my first job, the first thing I was gonna do is, give me some J's, and I remember just going to the mall. I think it was during Christmas break, going to the mall and waiting all night in line for the Jordans, and ended up being my first pair of Jordans that I got for myself, and just kind of, the effort I had to put into it, going to work and getting the money, then going and sitting in line all night, and just kind of having those shoes, my pride and joy.
Did you do that thing where you bought them and did you put them on and did you wear them? Okay.
You remember which one it was?
Obsidian 12s.
Oh, wow. Okay. His story made mine look terrible.
Dude,
I got them before my parents took me to the mall. He worked for
He
his.
grinded.
He worked for his. He's a better student than me. His grades were way better. So, yeah.
Didn't that work? So, did you wear them with every single outfit? Cause
No, not every single outfit.
Okay.
I wore them when it matched.
How old were you?
Probably junior.
Junior. Okay. Did you ever have to fight to keep your shoes on your feet?
I went to private school.
I'm telling you, we're backwards here.
Matt.
Yes.
Did you ever get into shoes?
Oh.
You play ball.
Yeah, like I mentioned, I'm a little bit older than both these guys here, so yeah, just a little bit. But yeah, I mean, Jordan was coming up, just when it is there. So the Air Force Ones, and that was the big shoe. I can't recall whether I had one. I was more the big man shoe. So following Akeem, following those guys were more my style. But
so when it comes to culture, I'm watching the revolution. So shoes were a big deal, especially in our community, right? Growing up, but to see how shoe culture has exploded to mainstream culture, did you ever see that coming when you started Center? Because back then it wasn't as big as it is now, right? As an industry? Yeah.
No. I mean, if I'm being honest, I think Tommy and a bunch of the guys up here, it's kind of the catch-22 for us because on one hand as a business, nobody's going to complain about there being like a big interest in it, but you definitely miss like the underground aspects of, 10, 15 years ago, if you were walking through JFK Airport or DFW and you saw someone with a shoe that you knew they sort of had to like finesse to get, you kind of head nod, salute, and it'd be cool. And literally now, like everyone in the room has on a hype shoe. You know what I mean? So it's if you see 10 people, 9 people have on something that is on GOAT or StockX, and the stories aren't quite as interesting as like how you got it. I remember going to New York and like having to look and search and find like the A-Life store, and like there's no signage, there was nothing, and I don't know, there just used to be like a little bit, more underground element to it, but if obviously people really like it, and I think that's cool. I think, everybody's story is a little different. Some people want to know, why this shoe got made and why this color pattern, so I mean, anything people can bond and conversate over that's positive is good.
What's been your favorite aspect of how shoe culture has just emerged and blown up?
I say my favorite aspect is just the availability. Nowadays you can go online and find whatever shoe you want. If you got the money, you can get it. So I think that's pretty cool. Just that you could see a shoe that you maybe have never thought that you've ever seen, and then you can not only go get it online, but you can also go look up the story behind it, look up, why it has a certain colorway, or why it uses certain materials.
I want to talk about building. I mean, whether it's in tech, whether it's entrepreneurship, investments. There's a lot of people who are watching who have a dream, have something that they want to accomplish in life, and I find that the majority of people I talk to are frustrated, like they're not where they want to be. So if you're giving advice to someone that's maybe looking to get into tech or build a business, you built, sold, you've helped grow multiple companies, for decades now. What are some thoughts that come to your head, some things you would share with people?
Yeah, I think the number one trait is probably resiliency. I mean, any successful entrepreneur, I'm sure you guys would agree, it's just like you're going to get knocked down and things are going to happen you don't expect. It's like, how can you pick yourself up and brush yourself off the next day and keep driving towards the vision? Yeah. I mean, that's kind of generic, not specific to tech. But in the technology world now, like when I was growing up, like this is the first generation of desktop computers. No dad jokes again. But it was very limited in terms of your opportunities to learn and to grow in that space. But now there's access everywhere. The internet, there's ability to get training anywhere for technology, and it's not going anywhere. It's only getting bigger and bigger. So, I mean, my advice to people is just like focus on the core tangibles of being driven, resilient. Just go out there and access and ask questions. A lot of people like to sit back and kind of wait for things to come to them, but that's not the entrepreneurial mindset. That's not what's going to let them succeed. So.
Yeah. He touched on resiliency. I'll add a little more to that. It's just I believe that when you do the right thing over and over and over, eventually you're gonna catch a little luck. And if you're doing the right thing, you gotta take advantage of that opportunity, and that's gonna be what takes you to the next level. So just continue to do the right things, continue to work hard, and then when you get your little bit of luck, take advantage of that and maximize your opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, they're both spot on. I think just to add a little bit to what Matt said, I always tell people that perseverance and curiosity. Like everyone I've ever met that, including Zeke, everyone I've ever met that's had some level of success, they've all been hit with adversity. And so just, whether that challenge is, something operational in business or financial or, just being able to just be tenacious and battle through something and then remaining curious. Like I think people that just want to constantly learn, I think there's a misconception that success is like there's a finish line. Yeah. And the reality is, I think all of us would tell you, is that you've got to keep going, and if you don't evolve, like the runway for you to have success these days is shorter than ever. 10 years ago, you have a successful business, you probably have years before someone like knocks it off. Yeah. And I would tell you that's now been condensed into like, you may have months before other people have seen it and watched it, and now they're knocking you off. And so I think if you don't remain really curious and keep investing in yourself and keep learning and reading and paying attention to what customers want, I think that mix of like tenacity and curiosity is what, I see it with him all the time in football, right? He's a student of the game. He loves football. He probably gets tired of me trying to talk to him about football because he knows that I don't know it on his level. He's still good enough friend that he'll have those conversations with me, but he's at a place that most kids just dream to be, but he's constantly learning and reading, and I think that's super inspiring. I would just tell most people, if you can just be this perfect mix of curious and then tenacious and perseverance, you'll eventually have some. To his point, you do that consistently, you'll eventually have success.
But okay, so I hear what you're saying, and I value what you're saying, but I mean, a lot of us are fueled by competition. Like, I love looking at somebody who I'm supposed to be running up against, and I want to crush them, I want to beat them, and like, whether it's in business or whatever, like, bro, there's this green Toyota Yaris that's busted, and every time I come to work, bro, like 2 days ago, I was driving into the office, and I started going, and I noticed they tried to speed up. And I found out they were trying to compete against me to get this really nice spot and at the office at the business. And so the next day I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wake up earlier because I need to get you at that spot. So like I'm fueled by that.
I didn't see that one coming. I didn't expect that one. I thought you were gonna like take the high road.
I want to beat you. Like my kids, like we don't do like.
You're competitive over just like random stuff. Doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it's weird like that. So like, but that kind of fuels me. And like I look at sports, I look at like. So how do you balance being fueled by your competitor, but not being led by what your competitor is doing? Because surely you're paying attention to the joker on the other side of the field, right?
Yeah, but your main competition is yourself.
Okay.
Your main competition is yourself. You're really battling yourself every day. You're battling, the best version of yourself, right? So I mean, you can look out the window and you can look at that guy, but at the end of the day, you gotta be competing against yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think if you're looking for some external motivator to get you up for a work day or a big game, you're gonna run out of gas really quick. So if you're not doing it to just, I know it sounds like very cerebral and emotionless, but like whatever you're doing, you should just be doing to go from point A to point B. And he knows that, if he trained right and he prepped right and the guys in front of him did their job, then that hole opens up and then he goes for 7. And now it's 2nd and 3, and it's the same in our line of work, right? It's
well, what about when that green Toyota stops showing up?
Yeah, now you're gonna be late to work for no reason,
right?
So now you really don't want to focus on the external, right? To give you motivation of what's internal,
right?
Or maybe just figure out that like when you get to work earlier now, you get more work done, so just show up 2 hours earlier,
right? And
just beat him as a byproduct of getting to the office early,
right?
But don't let it be about whatever green car you just talked about.
I love it. I love it.
And building on kind of what Zeke and Nick are saying, I mean, like with our contest, the Apollo contest, I mean, I think they're all kind of, like Zeke said, competing against themselves.
Right.
Like, what can I do to enhance my craft? Like, what am I learning? It's not that they're not looking at the people they're competing against, but they're also unique and diverse across their disciplines. It's just like, how do I, and that's kind of what we build a community for, is to like, how do I grow through that perspective and feedback from other people? So it doesn't always have to be like, I got to beat this person, like one person wins. But from the standpoint of growth is winning too. To what you were saying, Zeke, it's like you're fighting the guy in the mirror every day. So how are you personally growing? And as you get to a point, you realize that's the ultimate competition. Golfers will tell you that.
I agree. I would actually tell you, I say this all the time to Zeke that I actually like business a lot more than sports. Because in sports, there like literally has to be a loser, which I mean it's great in some ways if your team wins. But in business, you get to define the rules every day, right? And if you decide like, oh man, this product isn't selling well, like there's no commissioner that says, no, you're stuck to that. So you can sort of pivot and adjust as you need to. And then in business, there doesn't necessarily have to be a loser. So like if you're creating, whatever it is, if you're creating, currencies or products or shoes, I'm not rooting for someone else to lose or fail. There's a world and an environment in which we all could win, right? And so it's, I would probably try to avoid any scenario where I'm like rooting for someone else to. I try to honestly. We shared a message on Instagram, yesterday that we've all seen the message that you're a byproduct of the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with. If the 5 people I spend time with all end up making more money than me, I'm like happy as hell. Like I don't want to be the dude who like does well and then I do a little bit better than you. Like if he ends up doing 10x what I've done, like that has nothing to do with my happiness. Like I'm happy, I'm super happy for him. But we don't need a loser for things like that to coexist. So
with them.
How do you deal with like the criticism? Like I mean, you could be. I've got a relative that like criticized like stuff in my life. So you can just be a random parent and you're getting it from somewhere, or you could be, you know, a high-profile person and you're gonna get it from everywhere. How do you know, and everything in between? So how do you deal with criticism, especially online criticism?
You know, I try to think it's all constructive, but don't lash out. That's the big thing. It's I think I see a lot of people that just get very defensive. That usually gives them a nod that there's something to it.
Yeah.
So I just kind of restate the facts, and especially like you've been in our Telegram and the people that are talking in there, we've created a culture of just like educate. Don't hate. Just educate. Like they come in and they don't know.
Yeah.
Like they're perceiving some experience they had in a crypto before or a project before. Like tell them how we're different and then provide them with the tools to do that.
Absolutely.
if anyone, like it's in your situation, if someone in my family started criticizing something I was doing that I was passionate about, we just wouldn't talk anymore. I mean, so I'm super serious though. I mean, it really is that simple.
Yeah.
So like, you know, if I was doing something to harm myself, where I was making a really bad decision, I've got friends like him that will call me and say like, hey, that wasn't smart. And you know, now that I'm saying that aloud, there have been a couple times that we did have that conversation. And so, but yeah, if it was just like random stuff, if it was just like someone online that was like, oh, hey, center sucks, I'd be like, block. And it's really that easy, you know? And, or if my like aunt was like, hey, you know, I don't really like your business, I'd be like, okay, cool, like let's not talk again. I'm just not, I mean, I don't really understand like why we would need to go back and forth, right? It's like that old Peyton Manning commercial where he does everyone else's job and he's the barista and he's heckling people and you know, it's like, I mean, there's a little bit of truth to that. So it's just like, I think you have to just like trust in your heart that, like Matt said, you're doing the right thing and you're doing right by people. And we've got obviously a couple other friends that are high profile athletes. And I remember when he first entered the league and he had a horrible game. He got roasted. He was a defensive back, got just cooked one night. And Instagram was like just getting going. And the last picture he had posted was a picture with like him and like his daughters. And there were 700 comments with people just tearing him apart. And so I was new to the game then, so I started just every comment just going back at him. And then the phone rings and it's him, and he's like, dude, what? He was more upset with me than he was the people on his feed. He was like, what are you doing? He's like, you're just gonna sit here all night just going tit for tat with strangers? And I was like, I hadn't really thought about how this is gonna end. Like, I figured like people would start to calm down a little bit, you know? And then I realized like with either myself and the store or somebody here not winning a raffle or one of his games, like just block it and ignore it, because like every second you spend on that is a second you won't get back. So just like try to surround yourself with positive people that want the same things. And you know, I think it's also really important too to know why someone wants to succeed. Right. You know, because like in their heart, if like they want to succeed because they want to help other people, that's someone I want to be with, right? I mean, this is the most generous person I've ever met in my entire life. And I know that the better he does, there's 50 people that are going to be right alongside benefiting as well. That person who's trying to like fill a void in their life or like get revenge for everyone that did them dirty, that's a dangerous person I probably am not going to try to spend a lot of time with. So like, you know, if I peaked a couple years ago, I think most of my friends are still going to be the same friends.
Zeke, how do you deal with the shrapnel criticism?
I think that was really important what you said, Nick, about, hearing why a person wants to succeed. You know, you want to succeed for all the right reasons. Then, that's the person you definitely want to root for. But I think it's not simple. It's not easy. But you got to surround yourself with the right people. I think it's tough for you to go to social media and look for reassurance. Because the whole point of social media is to give everyone a voice and
some people really didn't deserve one.
Exactly. I think some people really didn't deserve one, and But what is weird about social media is they can hide behind just a fake profile, and so that's definitely not the advice you want to be taking. I think what's important is to surround yourself with the right people surround yourself with people like you, in the same field, but who also you trust, and if you did something that was maybe online or something that they wouldn't do, that they pull you to the side like, hey, I'm telling you this because I love you. As a friend, I'm telling you this because I want you to be the best person you can be for yourself. I maybe wouldn't have done this that way, or I maybe would have done it a different way. And it'd be constructive, rather so than looking to social media where they probably looking to tear you down.
That's true. Yep. I love that. Let's talk about one of the most highly criticized industries right now, and that is Web3. So y'all thought I was going to say crypto. Crypto's a part of it, right? But let's talk, whether it's NFTs, metaverse, blockchain technology, especially crypto, it is extremely misunderstood, and it's new. And so I want to talk about that, especially because of your background. Talk to us about your project. Something I'm really passionate about, but go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, so I guess the genesis of it was really, working around in creative technology industry for some time. I've been around a lot from fine artists to digital artists to influencers, you name it, people that create great digital content. So I've always had a respect for it because I've always been on the engineering side and never capable of really doing great creative work. But then my youngest son, who's getting ready to graduate from college, he is a creator. He's a musician and recording artist, and I gotta figure something out for him because I think the world we live in today, it's saturated. It's hard to get attention for your work, and it's hard to get funding for your work. There's just a lot of projects. It's hard to break through in that space. So after a few years of talking to him about wanting better community and space in that, and not wanting to work at Jimmy John's for the rest of his life and figure out how he gets funding for his projects, I was like, well, that's the marriage between my background in engineering and this new crypto Web3 NFT space. How do we put the chocolate and the peanut butter together, so to speak? So that kind of birthed the idea of the Apollo Crypto DAO, right? So a DAO, as you know, is a decentralized autonomous organization. So it's kind of this code that sits in the cloud, so to speak, or on the blockchain in this case, and manages a policy to how to send crypto out. So with our token, anyone who buys, sells, or transfers it, portion of that fee goes into the DAO and pays out creators each week for their projects. So it's a simple voting system where anyone can submit a project, and the community votes on it every week. And then, some pretty significant prizes come out of that.
No, I love it, and I'm excited about it. For those of you that don't know, I'm turning $1 million into $100 million in crypto, and I'm documenting it every single day on social. And at this point in the journey, especially in light of market conditions and the contraction, I have gone all in on Apollo Crypto. You can go check it out, apollocrypto.org. We are not a financial advisor. This is certainly not financial advice. I'm just crazy excited about a project that exists to help fund artists and creatives. I think the intersection of art, creativity, business, and now technology is one of the most, I think it's going to be one of the most upending aspects of American business. I think they're going to talk about the intersection of art, creativity, business, and technology. And I think I think we're making history. I think we're living in history. And this new technology, Web3, is being introduced to the world in the package of art and creativity, whether it's NFTs or whether it's a cryptocurrency project that's about funding up-and-coming artists and creatives, and having a contest every single week. And so I'm crazy excited about what you guys are doing, and to have Center, right? A cultural icon in Dallas, at least, in having influence across the nation in the shoe game and in the culture, sponsoring an Apollo crypto contest in the coming weeks and months. I think it speaks to, having you guys being a part of what we're doing, being a part of the development as community members, like myself. I think it speaks to the credibility. I think it speaks to the future. I think it speaks to how people are going to be funded. And so I wanted to ask you, what has been your favorite part about this unique project and process over the last, you guys are brand new, 5-6 months old.
Yeah, we're actually just coming out of beta this week, so it'll be a full-fledged project. We've submitted any updates that we needed to for that DAO, and we're off and running. But you're right, like the greatest part has been we've given away over $75,000 over the last few weeks to up-and-coming creators. It's only going to get bigger as the project grows and the DAO increases. Then the bigger the prizes are.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited to see like the diversity of projects that it's getting in the hands of. We've had everything from people who make crafts professionally for a living to musicians to some amazing local Dallas talent that's getting recognized through this now. To some big, and your organization has done a great job of bringing great talent to the table as well. But I think once the word of this gets out and we start to see people realize the power of the community really being in control of the project, not some individual or entity that's saying here's the rules and we're going to do something not above board at some point. It's all transparent. Every vote, every aspect of the project, everybody could audit. I think that's going to catch on. I think it's the idea of like a creative way now that individuals can win this prize, but also that brands can engage with our platform to find new creative ways to source ideas and content. I think that's really the power of the scale of what we're talking about here.
So what made you guys so excited about partnering with Apollo, investing in Apollo Crypto, being a part and collaborating and being a part of the community?
Yeah, so I've been a fan of Matt's for a long time, and part of my like really simple investment thesis with companies is I just try to find like need-based, value propositions with really talented operators. And with my first business, we were constantly looking for world-class engineers and developers, and we're trying to build apps. My first startup, I couldn't afford Matt. I didn't have a Chick-fil-A budget to pay for an app, but I was always really fascinated and blown away with the quality of the work they did.
Yeah.
So just the opportunity to work with people like that, and then just trying to keep an open mind about what Web3 is, and not being, like we talked about earlier, not being as tribal and closed-minded and saying I'm camp this or camp that. It was just like I'm camp like anything that's tangible and real. And when I heard that, like any currency, right, whether it's our common currency or it's an altcoin, if it's backed and connected to something real, I'm a believer in it.
Right.
So I think just Matt's background and then having the chance to be involved in one of the very few coins that actually does have like real life utilitarian function, that was like a no-brainer.
So Apollo Crypto exists to fund up-and-coming artists and creatives to kickstart their passion with the weekly vote. So whoever gets the most votes that week gets more Apollo Crypto token, which is money, to fund their upcoming art, project or creativity. So we had a local hat maker named Andy, who was a part of the competition, and he was going to use the funding to help develop and grow his hat making business. And so when I think about this collab between you guys, Center, and Apollo, I mean, I just see in my head what you guys were able to do, what you guys actually did physically in person, with bringing in local sneaker designers or people who design. Can we talk about what that could potentially look like in the months ahead?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we do our best to try to reserve shelf space for local designers. Just here recently, Tommy and Johnny and the team, they've brought in some amazingly talented kids. So I think, in the next couple of months, hosting this competition and bringing in, 4 or 5 groups and picking a winner and then just providing the funding for them to operate their business. You never know who the next Jerry Lorenzo or Virgil is going to be.
Right.
So I think, it's really cool just to connect Apollo to, helping, fund one of these operations. So
100%.
And I think, it's all about, creating your own success, yes, but that's to, continue to pass that blessing. And so, it'll be fun to, get some creators or get some different entrepreneurs in here in Center, with a dream to start their brands and be able to, give them opportunity to better themselves.
100%. Couldn't agree with you more. That's why, we're so passionate. My community, Knock Nation, man, we want to give. Like, I believe it's better to give than to receive because the blessing always comes back and boomerangs back. And so, I'm excited to be a part of what you guys have built. I came in, a couple weeks after you guys launched, but it's an honor to be a part of this community. I do believe that, by the way. Like I actually believe the next Justin Bieber or like Kelly Clarkson, like the first one in American Idol, like or a Bieber who was found through YouTube, I think that like the next one will be discovered through a Web3 based platform. Some kid who's really into crypto or some person who's really trying to make it in like this platform, y'all's collaboration, melting your brand, your name, your businesses, and your genius to help give these people a kickstart.
We haven't really publicized the story very much, and I wish I could grab some of the guys to come up and help me with this one. But the word mark on the wall right there, a guy named Chuck Anderson did that logo in 2007, and I think maybe within like a couple months of doing that same word mark, he had done the cover for Lupe Fiasco Food and Liquor, which was like one of the best albums of the decade. But he was part of a group called The Brilliance, and The Brilliance were 3 or 4 different creatives in Chicago. And the number 2 kind of design guy at the time at The Brilliance was Virgil. And so when we go back and look at the correspondence, when we were forming this brand, like virtually no one in the country really knew who Virgil was other than people in Chicago. And it's amazing. We've never even really told that story, but when you go back and look at, the name and sort of the tagline for Center was started by like Chuck and Virgil and all those guys. We've really never even told that story before.
That's crazy.
But yeah, obviously like rest in peace, Virgil.
For 100%. And those stories need to be told. Those narratives need to be shared. And I believe Apollo Crypto is the most innovative and creative way to platform those stories. And I'm looking forward to seeing, what that looks like. Can we talk about the future of Apollo and whatever you're able to share? I know you guys are cooking up a lot. And there's a lot coming.
Always a lot going on.
Yeah.
Like our Trello board, we always advertise. That's kind of our working document of tasks every day. Like I think we're one of the first groups in the space to really show not only transparency on the blockchain, but also show it in what we're doing day after day.
Nobody, like in crypto, unfortunately, up and coming new projects, no one's sharing all the details of what exactly they're working on.
It's a lot of work. Some days I'm like, why did I choose to do this? But I think it's for the right reason, right? I think the biggest thing on the roadmap that we've been talking about for a while is for voters. How are we rewarding voters? I believe what Nick was saying earlier, that everybody can win in this ecosystem. So that for us, that's creators, that's voting holders, investors, right? So how do we find a way that everybody benefits for participating? So people that are voting each week, that are collecting our little NFTs or POAPs and everything like that, we're going to build a system that keys off to reward them for their engagement with the platform, basically. So that's really July, but this conversation, this partnership, is probably what I'm most excited about to talk to people about, because I do see this opportunity for how brands can come and engage with the Apollo ecosystem. We really haven't even touched like how we're going to, you've done it with your platform to say all the money and proceeds that you make as profit from your show are getting used to purchase Apollo and then burned, which helps everybody in the ecosystem win. Well, we're talking about doing that with this relationship and partnership as well. So I hope that sets a standard for showing that these people here aren't like greed driven. We care about seeing creators win. We see about the economy of crypto winning is what we care about here, not like some extreme profits. It's not the stage to profit on crypto, it's the stage to build. So I love the ideas that have been put forward here of like, how do we grow that? And that partnership is really gonna set the standard for what I hope are many brands that wanna use this in a creative way to source great ideas from a wide group of people. Like this is kind of like the whole 99 Designs and what they're doing for like hiring contractors to participate in a contest to create something unique and cool. So.
This has been fun. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Zeke,
Appreciate you
hey,
guys.
Hold on. I gotta tell you something, Zeke. Listen. I know Zeke, you can do that whole running thing. You got all that. But let me tell you something. My family comes from Ethiopia, which means I am genetically predisposed to hitting that pavement and running.
Oh, here we go.
I can beat you in a race.
It depends on race.
No, it doesn't even matter. Any race, anytime, anywhere, I can beat you, sir.
A 20-yard dash?
25, 50, 80,
No. This is like a Super Mario. You got to go through like 4 levels to race.
I got one.
You got to be Matt, then you got to be Black, then you got to be Tommy, then you got to be me.
Well, look, the thing is,
I'm coming for Tommy.
Tommy, go cook him in the parking lot. I'll give $1,000 to the winner right now.
I don't do any.
Tommy, smoke him in the parking lot right now.
I got $1 billion Apollo on scene.
That's $1 billion.
Hey, Tommy said
$1 billion loss.
Tommy said he'll race you right now.
Let's go.
Wave cap, chives, everything. Like,
Oh, bro, if somebody pulled a hammer, it would die.
Thank you guys for being here. Man, I really appreciate you guys and appreciate your support, especially for the ecosystem that we're building. And Apollo Crypto, so.
Always, brother.
Matt. Old
I
man
just
Matt.
turn my L's into W.
y'all got the head.
Y'all got old man.
Stay in your lane, don't you pick and choose. I can't waste my time, I got a lot to lose. To the game that we all on, they was doubting us all along. Now we charting in Hong Kong, what competition, they all gone. Bless, stress, play the game like it's chess. We next, that's a check, over stripes, yeah, yeah.